when will we know if we passed it? How much money will be wired? And yeah, let's
Okay.
start from there. Oh yeah, and what are the issues that are still to be resolved? Because the thing about ghost workers keeps coming out, subsidies. Yes.
Okay. All right. Thank you so much for the question. And by the way, feel free to record me. I'd rather that you quote me verbatim. Okay? Thank you. So on the fifth review, the board meeting is scheduled tentatively for March 15. The way it works, first, the authorities and the IMF have to reach an agreement at the staff level. So that's the first step. And then we write a report based on our assessment, and we make a recommendation that the review should proceed. And it goes through internal review within the IMF, and then it goes to the board, where the board votes. The money that is at stake is $63 million. That's the next tranche. Now, the review went very well. We have very good, productive discussions, and I think we're in a good stage. The macroeconomic fundamentals are looking better. The economy appears to have stabilized, and we see that as a direct result of the tight monetary policy and tight fiscal policy. So the two go hand in hand. And the stability that you are currently observing is not an accident. It's a result of those measures. What are some of the remaining issues to be discussed and addressed? There is only one. It's the electricity tariff reform. In the last few reviews, this is not a new measure. This is a pre-existing measure. But the government has promised to achieve cost recovery by the end of 2024. The subsidies are costing a lot of money to the budget, and this money could be spent in better ways. It's not just about fiscal savings. It's about allocating resources efficiently to their greatest need. And what subsidies also create is this inefficient wastage of resources. Now, if resources are not priced properly, somebody pays sooner or later. And if those are not addressed, if electricity company does not have enough revenues to upgrade the grid, to do needed investment, it means that if this is not addressed, if tariffs are not adjusted, you would have electricity disruptions. So while higher tariffs might be not a popular measure, we think it's a lot worse if a country is plunged into darkness and you cannot charge your phones, cameras, refrigerators, if businesses have to close because they cannot open their restaurants, if the companies cannot work because there are constant disruptions. And trust me, there is a lot more expensive, it's going to be much more expensive having for everybody to invest in their own generators that run on fuel. Just like when the water was subsidized, there was a lot of wastage, not enough investment in many communities. There were disruptions and people had to buy bottled water. That's a lot more expensive approach than fixing the problem through proper pricing mechanism. So this is one issue that still remains to be ironed out. It's not just in the Ministry of Finance's scope. The EBS, Ministry of Natural Environment, needs to make a proposal. We need to evaluate it, agree on it. It can be phased in gradually. It can be phased in a way that especially the better off are no longer subsidized. Because think about it, what are those subsidies doing? They're subsidizing everybody. They're subsidizing this office. For what reason? Think about it. This is what happens with electricity subsidies. You're subsidizing all the embassies also. So it's much, and the money is not an unlimited resource. So that's basically one remaining issue that still is pending. But we're hoping that the decision will be taken this week. And it doesn't mean that electricity tariffs will be adjusted right away, but at least the decision. So we have some comfort that the fiscal program continues as planned. This commitment was there from the very beginning. So yeah, but overall, very good progress. Suriname should be proud. Its people should be proud of what they have achieved. Yes?
Yeah. My name is Livin.
Mhm.
Going on the last sentence, we should be proud. Suriname, we understand, is one of the showcase as one of the best IMF programs. One of those programs IMF had. That's what the president has stated? Is that the point of view of the IMF also? And what makes that the IMF have the point of view based on the capacity of implementation of the program and reaching the targets by the government?
Mhm.
Why, if yes, why based on these facts, why based on these issues, why is the policy of the IMF?
So the government performed relatively well on meeting the targets. The only target that was probably not met is again the one on social protection. It's an indicative target, but it's still quite important. We're still crunching out the last numbers, but it looks like it was missed once again. The IMF sets the floor, the minimum that the government should spend on social protection programs. The government faced issues in executing those programs. I know they're making adjustments. There was progress. In percent of GDP, this ratio has increased. We would have preferred that it increased faster. So the program targets were set with the view that they increase a bit faster. So still a lot to be done in this area, but at least one good point is that now the social protection spending is more transparent. The Ministry of Social Affairs publishes on its website by district, by program, number of beneficiaries in each district, how much money was spent, and the eligibility criteria. So that's a step in the right direction.
So this is the point of view of the IMF?
Yes, it's the point of view of the staff from the IMF. IMF is a huge organization, and after the staff level agreement at my level is reached, it has to go through other reviews.
Yeah.
But my assessment is that the progress has been very good, and I think the fact that the deputy managing director expressed the same view, also management feels the same way. And more and more the board is also more and more positive towards Suriname. When the program went off track, there was a lot of skepticism. Will they stay the course? Will this discipline last? Will they fall back? Will they not be able to maintain the momentum? But with every review, so we had the second review finally was completed in June. Then like clockwork, we had third review in September, fourth review in December. So at the December board, the mood was so much more positive and acknowledging the hard work that was done and the results that you are seeing in the stability.
We have Suriname Economic Oversight Board,
Mm-hmm.
and they stated in the last bulletin that actually, with what you say, the social paragraph program, that the realization was less than 50%. And I want to know in detail what maybe are the issues that means that we didn't reach even 50%. I think there was a amount of 2 million something, and not even a half we realized. So can you please state the issues? Because we have a lot of commissions on the social department who is looking at the social program on the paragraph of the IMF of Suriname. So, but what are really the issues that makes that Suriname don't achieve those goals?
The explanations
Sorry,
that.
I have two more questions.
Okay.
I just want to complete them.
Okay.
So,
Okay.
well, you can go.
Yeah. So it is difficult to roll out a program fast because you also want to do it in a way that the eligible beneficiaries are captured and those that are wealthy and just want to take advantage of those transfers are not. So that's one thing. You have to have controls. Second, sometimes it's difficult for the Ministry of Social Affairs to reach interior districts of the country that are harder to get to, harder to get people to accept the money cartas they used to cash, to convince them that, okay, maybe open, let's have a money carta. Some of them are resistant to having this money carta because they think, oh, but nobody's going to accept it in the shops and the marketplace. I don't have access to the ATM machine to withdraw the cash. So there's some of those operational difficulties as well that have to be tackled. There was one time that the target was met throughout the whole program history, and that's when the Ministry of Finance also stepped in to help the Ministry of Social Affairs. But it would be unfair to expect that Ministry of Finance, who is already overwhelmed with all the other programs that they're trying to do, is also would constantly help out the Ministry of Social Affairs. So building that capacity, outreach to the local communities so that people apply, that those applications get processed quickly, that there is a unified beneficiary system, because right now what you have is various components of social programs are scattered in many different ministries. There might be duplication. But it's a long term. It won't be resolved overnight, and we don't expect it to be resolved overnight. But we want to see progress in the right direction. There is progress, and it is in the right direction, but it's a bit slow to our evaluation.
But one thing that the SOP stated is that in the program, especially the social program, is missing some transparency. And one thing that catch my eye is that actually the program is based on poverty rate. That is 50%, less than 50% of the real poverty rate. And it is long time invalid. So actually, maybe that is some reason why we don't reach the goals on the social program. I don't know what you comment on that, please.
Yeah, so we don't micromanage how the floor is met. It's up to the government whether they want to increase the number of beneficiaries or they can just increase the value of the payment to each of those beneficiaries. So there are many ways that the target could be met.
My name is Eigen. This morning or this afternoon, Mr. Okamu stated that the government must increase spending on infrastructure to boost the economy. But how is it expected of Suriname to do that if we don't have enough incomes and taking into account the debt burden that Suriname has now, that the country cannot take out foreign loans? How will it do that?
So already in the program, under the existing revenue projections, spending projections, there is enough space allocated for infrastructure investment. So it's not a question of financing. The financing is there. We don't lend into unsustainable situations. So the financing is there. What lacks is the implementation capacity. That's the difficulty. Oftentimes the capital budget, whatever is in the budget, cannot be executed. So basically building it on that capacity so that the projects that have started can be completed. That is the challenge.
So within what time frame then this capacity could be built up to execute these programs?
Again, no magic bullet. It will take time to build capacity in executing the projects. IMF, other entities are providing technical support in building this capacity. How do you evaluate the project? How do you know if this project is a good one? How do you choose between projects, which would have the biggest impact on growth? So we provide technical capacity in this. But also in any kind of government spending, it is important that there is absolute transparency and competition One of the key structural benchmarks that is still pending is the procurement law. It hasn't been enacted yet. We're hopeful that it will be very soon. It's been pending for quite some time. But what it does, it creates a more level playing field, because the government would have to go through a bidding process. It has to be transparent, and any business can try to compete for this tender. And so that would be very helpful. And besides this kind of competition, it would have information on who is the beneficial owner, who gets the contracts. Is it all predetermined and only a couple of families get all the contracts that own various companies? Or do people have a fair chance to compete? So this is why this procurement law is important.
Well, in connection with what you have said about the beneficial owners, when the program was designed, it was also one of the issues that people in the government, the leaders of the government, should declare their assets. That has not been done yet. How is this taken into account in the evaluation of Suriname regarding this part of the program?
Yep. One of the key aspects of the program and what matters the most for growth, it's not just the government spending money, but it's creating the level playing field, fighting corruption, improving institutions, and asset and income declaration is a step in that direction. Because no public servant should be enriching themselves illicitly. They should be there to serve the people. And currently, under the Surinamese law, there are all kinds of privacy provisions. So in order to enable this publication, what first has to happen is amendment to the existing laws to enable for this publication. So that's the first step. And then the second step of how do you implement it in practice. Now, if there are concerns about privacy, the private information could be, deleted. We don't need to know people's account information or the addresses of their relatives. But the population should know how much income the public servants get, not just from the wages, but from other sources. Let's say if they're working for multiple companies, or they're on the board of this, or on the board of that, or if they have investments, because that's how the population will be able to see if their conflict of interests, real or potential, and also declaring the assets. So, and the way that this law can be rolled out, the implementation of the law is the second step. But first we have to have the law in place to enable you for this publication. Now, we do hope to see serious action, or at least progress in this.
My name is Ken School, and you have say that the people have to know what are the incomes, about the incomes. So we have every year Article 4 IMF consult. So we make sure that IMF know exactly how much Suriname gets from the multinationals, the big firms, etc. So the question is, where are the profit tax, the royalties, etc., from the two big multinationals and Stars only, if they are not deposited at the Suriname Centrale Bank from Suriname, because we can trace them there. If Centrale Bank preside trade balance on which we have a saldo average $800 million a year from 2020, 21, 22, and maybe also in 23. And due to figures and numbers from Stars only, you can trace back that the state get about $800 million on profit tax from Stars only, Eigen gold, and Meridian gold. You can't see that money anywhere. Not on the Centrale Bank number, not everywhere. I have asked this question a year long to the Minister of Finance, the Central Bank President, the President, and even the Minister of Defense. So today I will ask you a question. Please give the answer. Where are about $3.2 billion we have earned in these 3 years? And if we have $3.2 billion and a positive saldo in our trade balance, what's the need of how you call it, a just program? Because we have so much money, and we can see that. And one thing more, all regular imports are paid by dollars. The importers are buying at the cambio and the banks. And these dollars are coming from the rice sector, the small gold sector, the wood sector, and the fishery sector. So where are the money from? Eigen, Newmont, and Stars are going? About 3.2 billion from 22 till today.
Okay. So first of all, I don't necessarily understand the link that you're making between asset and income declaration and those monies. Because asset and income declaration for politically exposed people means that people in the higher level of the government have to declare their own financial wealth. Not the accounts of Statsoli. They have to declare their own wealth from every single year, and this information should be available to the public. We're not talking about every single public official. If you try to go there, it's too much. But at least politically exposed people should be saying, this is my source of income as an individual, and this is my assets, beginning of the year, end of the year. So people can see that the officials that they have running the country are absolutely accountable. Okay? And the same with parliamentarians and things like that. So it applies to the whole society. On the profits and what is the relationship between state-owned companies and how they transfer the money, we do see it in the fiscal accounts that Newmont has revenues and Statsoli has revenues, and they have certain percentage or figure that they transfer to the central government budget. Part of those figures they reinvest in other projects, and because they also run in a way, they have other investments that they're doing as a company. And is there an issue with taxing properly all the little gold miners? Yes, there is an issue with bringing all those revenues into the coffers of the state. But I don't think if the country would have applied for IMF program if there was all tons of money lying around in the budget.
I think you misunderstand me. Eigen, Newmont, and Statsoli used to pay profit tax, which is deposited at the Central Bank from Suriname every year. So we can see how much Suriname get from these sectors, right? Right now, we don't see that at the Central Bank. I have asked the Central Bank of Suriname, and they told me to ask the Minister of Finance. I asked the Minister of Finance, he didn't give me an answer. I asked the President, he didn't give me an answer. So the point is, if the regular imports are paid by the income tax from the small sectors, these three big, Eigen, Newmont, and Statsoli, due to numbers from Statsoli, anyone can trace back that the state get profit tax about $800 million from 2020, 21, 22. So the point is, where that amount of money, I'm talking about $3.2 billion, are not deposited anywhere. We can see them. But still, every year, the Central Bank of Suriname mentioned in his report that we have export for so much gold, so much oil. So we have to see that money back. If our people don't see that income, and we have to go under this IMF program where we get, because of due to IDB, we get about 400% poorer in how do you call it? What is it again?
The comparison.
with 2016. And the exchange rate of the SFD in 2020 was 24 SFD for the US, and now it is 36. That means from 22 to 23, we get poorer. So what is the benefit we get from this IMF program?
Okay.
We don't know where our incomes go, our profit from the gold. We don't know where the profit of tax will go, but still we got to pay every day more money.
Okay. What would have happened if there was no IMF program? What would have happened?
The point is, if those money was deposited at the central bank and the central bank can control the SFD, the exchange rate will not rise up. Yes, because the central bank say you forbid them to defend the SFD, so they let it go, and now we have 38. But if the money of these three firms will go to central bank, we have enough money. We're talking about $3.2 billion.
So, again, returning to my question to you. Imagine, forget about IMF. Imagine that you are just a regular individual who ran into some issues. You run into debt. You can no longer pay your creditors, and nobody would lend to you at all. Just bear with me. I'm going somewhere with it. Okay? And your family is in a bad situation. You cannot pay anything, and you come to your somebody, let's say your friend, your colleague, and you say, I have this very bad situation. If I don't get the money now, I'm going to lose my house. I would have to withdraw my kids from university. I cannot pay the tuition. What do you do? And your friend says, yes, I can help you, but you have to make some changes in exchange. You have to stop smoking, drinking, gambling. So you have to do some adjustments. Your situation, if your friend did not lend you money, would be so much worse, because you would have had to withdraw your kids from school, and you would have had to cut down maybe on food. But now you're all upset because your friend asked you to do some conditionality. Yes? But he was the only person who lent you money. And that person has to demand, did you stop gambling? Yes or no? That's the conditionality of the IMF. It, in a way, allows you to eventually become independent of us, to become independent of IDB, to earn your own keep, where your income and your expenses are more or less aligned. So if the IMF did not come and help you, also negotiated with the creditors, this person, he's going to be better behaved in the future. Let's forgive some of his loans. And the creditors took a haircut. They took a loss to help Suriname. Okay? Not just, so China and India, European countries that have land, they all took a haircut in order to, so in a way we also helped Suriname renegotiate some of those debts. Now, you could have said, okay, I would have been better off without IMF. Yes, maybe, or maybe your kids would be out on the street starving. So, but because people never observed the counterfactual, what could have happened if nobody else stepped in and allowed you to have a more gradual adjustment. You did not have to remove, let's say, electricity subsidies in one go. You could do it more gradually over a few years. You did not have to fire all the public sector workers, but you could start gradual process of at least scale down, because there's lots of waste with ghost workers. What we have done is to make this adjustment more smooth than otherwise would have happened to you. So are we the bad guy for lending you, for being the last lender of last resort? So
No, I don't mean you are the bad guy, madam. What I want to say is, even when the program will be close with success, yeah, it will not bring us in a position to make more money or make this money feasible. even then we can pay our debts. We can only pay our debts if we earn more money or we make this money, which are not feasible right now, feasible. And that's the point. Right now,
yeah. So you accuse,
sorry,
yeah.
we export in from 2010 to 23. We have export.
Yeah,
Zij hebben dat programma geadviseerd. They recommended the program.
Ja, maar het is niet oppas maar wat jij zegt. Zij gaat van die
We did not recommend the program. The government asked us to come in. Okay? And the government put the measures that they were willing to implement. Stop drinking, stop smoking, stop gambling, live within your means. But do it gradually to get to the kind of balanced budget situation. The IMF does not come and say, take my money. We're asked to come in because nobody else would lend you. That is the challenge. And we're hoping to get you to the stage where you no longer need our loans, where you can be self-sufficient. That is the challenge. I'm mindful of the time. I have 5 minutes. I want to have this side to also have the opportunity to.
I have two short questions. What does Suriname have to do, still have to do about the subsidies? Do we have to stop more? Says the IMF? And about the public sector workers, the ghost workers, you said if maybe Suriname stop 5,000 people from working in the public sector, we can have more money available to do other things. What is your intake about that much further?
Yeah. So on the ghost workers, it's not just a waste of money to pay people who don't work. It's demoralizing for the rest of the public service, and there is an opportunity cost, right? So if those 5,000 workers could be removed immediately, when the negotiations with the unions would reopen, let's say July, there could have been enough money to give a 15% salary increase for everybody. But if the government goes very slowly, a few hundred here, a few hundred there, then there won't be that money for a meaningful, real, not nominal, real wage increase. So that is the trade-off that the government is facing. Now, it's incredible that the government was able, after 60 years, to put together the law, no work, no pay. It took 60 years. How many administrations? To have that done is great. To have the regulations in place, that's great. Now, implementing what those regulations, what the law said, people have to have the courage and to say, yes, we feel bad for the 5,000, but you should not feel bad. Because those are people who get paid for doing nothing, and the rest of you are subsidizing them. And that is not fair.
You know, you have a little bit of time because you stated this already before. Maybe
Yes.
Continue with some of the questions.
Yeah. Well, he asked about the ghost workers.
Okay.
So yes,
you
that's
can refer to your formal
yeah.
answer on
So
this.
that's the on the ghost workers. On the electricity tariffs, there is a goal to achieve cost recovery by the end of this year. So that means electricity prices, or the electricity tariffs, have to increase. They can increase gradually, but they do have to go up. There is no point of subsidizing even this office. Okay.
Do we have to do other do we have to stop other subsidies also?
So the electricity subsidy is the biggest item.
Okay.
Yeah, that's the biggest item. The water subsidies, there's already a plan in place. The government has those tariffs published. Same for gas. So those are already in train. The electricity prices are a bit of a sticking point, but that's I think we will reach an agreement and have those done.
Yes, thank you.
Other people, I want to make sure have opportunity to ask.
Go ahead. Yes, about the social program. Are you still content with the progress? What issues are there that you need to address?
I acknowledge the progress, but I'm not yet content with it.
You're not yet content.
Okay. So because the target was missed again in December. So that is my view. Other questions? Other journalists?
Yeah. Yeah, the question when he was answering, explaining some things. Was the IMF taking consideration talks about corruption within the government. And I hear that there was a letter presented to you about some corruption issues. How does the IMF deal with that? And someone asked me to do, does the IMF turn a blind eye on corruption? And how this is affecting the program?
Yeah, so yes, we did receive a letter. We do not respond to anonymous letters. It's a matter of principle, because anybody can write anything about anybody. The government also is aware of the letter. They provided some explanations, responses. We cannot investigate every single accusation or verify yes or no. That is not our role. We're macro people. We're not here on the ground. It's up to the journalists to investigate, have that kind of journalism. What we care about is broader governance reforms, to having the laws in place. I mentioned the procurement law with beneficial owner information. I mentioned asset and income declaration. Those are all steps to fight corruption on a macro scale, where it would benefit the entire economy. We're also asking that the acts of corruption are criminalized, become criminal offense. So that's also a change in the law. So all those macro type issues that are requiring changes in legislation, in regulation, this is where we come in. We don't go about such and such official bribed another official. But to the extent that you can also digitalize, address red tape, if a person can file their income, or if taxes or whatever, if they can pay custom duties all digitally, if they can get a license to operate a business by filling up a form online, you kill that intermediary who can ask for a bribe to expedite the process. So we're focused more on fighting vulnerabilities to corruption through proper institutions, not necessarily on investigating accusation X or Y.
I have a last question.
Yes.
One of the conditions for the program was that the debt restructuring program agreements with the creditors. China, we don't have that with China yet. How does this affect or impact the program?
Mm-hmm. So with China, it was reached at the technical level, and it's going through the last bureaucratic hurdle of signing off on the agreement. So you almost have it with China. And that was a very positive development at the last review, which enabled us to proceed forward.
But the absence of the agreement, it doesn't affect the program?
So because it's already done at the technical level, it's already been approved by the Minister of Finance of China. It's a procedural thing at this point. There is no longer uncertainty whether it will ever happen. So it's all in train. And this kind of relief, but it's already in the program. We assume that those claims are restructured, and that provides breathing space. That doesn't mean that all of a sudden the government can start spending uncontrollably, because it's already assumed in the program that this progress is already made.
When the program established, you also had some agreements with the central bank,
Mm-hmm.
and looking back at your commands, Article 4 commands of I think 2020, there was stated that there were some programs in it that should be refined and also continue. What is the IMF view now at what's going on with what the central bank is using on the monetary scale, and also the issue with the OMOS?
Okay. I spoke about the OMOS in the recorded statement, so I suggest that you refer to that, because I don't want to repeat myself. So there were people with the cameras recording the conference on Friday, so please take a look. Your central bank is doing a good job. In a situation like Suriname with debt restructuring, where there was loss of confidence in government securities, it's really hard to conduct monetary policy. They did a very good job. And together with the Minister of Finance, the two are working very well together to bring the stability that we observe. And I don't want to repeat what I already said, but to the extent that people can stop undermining the confidence in the central bank, would go a long way towards stability, because a lot of it is confidence. Your own faith in your currency is so much just faith-based. Otherwise, it's a piece of paper. So unnecessarily criticizing the governor, the central bank, it does the opposite of what you want to achieve.
Did you state in your press conference before about the amount that the almost already have cost?
Yes,
society?
it's expensive.
Okay, then I will-
It's expensive to run monetary operations in a high inflation environment. It's not unique to Suriname. It happens everywhere. Somebody has to pay the price. And the price is even higher if there is a loss of confidence in government securities when restructuring is going on. So that is the gist of it. They're doing the best they can with the tools they have. Thank you all very much.
Yes, thank you. Yeah, thank you, Lila. You have a great service. I have to do something.
Ja?
Ja, man.
We hebben ook opladen.
Thank you all so much.
Yes,
you.
thank you.
Hello, Mr. Fahad.
Miss Gusina? Miss Gusina? I
Yes,
think you
ma'am.
forgot your purse.